Let's go, girls.
Just tell me that I can and show you things that you couldn't believe.
Let's go. It's Women Talking Football, WTF for short, of course, not ever to be confused with WFT.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. We'll catch ya. My name is Mallory Hartley. I am the associate producer here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Dave Campbell's Texan Live. And I am sitting in the hostess chair once again. And over there, turn the dials, making sure you can see me. Yep. She's the executive producer. She's the AP to my AP. Correct. It's Miss Ashley Pickle. AP, what's going on, girl?
God, I've been
talking so much energy right now.
I know. I've been talking about the fact that I desperately need a soundboard that I can quickly cut drops like that so I could keep it going. What's going on, girl? It's something that I would absolutely cut and keep.
I think that's just so funny. I just have so much energy right now.
That is fair.
Anyways, we are the women. We are the hostess and co-hosts of Women Talking Football here every Thursday talking football around the Lone Star State, and this is episode 35 already. That's insane. I feel like I say that every week, but it's
we
crazy.
just keep showing up. They try to get rid of us, and we won't go away.
I know. We just love what we do. We just love it so much. We have a packed show for you today. No guest, but that's okay, because in the back half of the show, it's Mailbag Mania. We'll answer your questions that you've sent in over the past day or so about Texas high school football, college football, whatever. And if you didn't get a chance to send in your questions, go ahead and do that now in the comments over Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever we are live. I really don't know where we're live right now. Probably not
all three.
Facebook. All three.
Yeah, I got Facebook working again.
Oh, heck yeah. Let's go.
I told Zuckerberg to go and get. And now we're on Facebook.
We finally figured it out. Well, yes, go ahead and get your questions in. Texas high school football, college football, Dallas Stars, Memphis Grizzlies.
Go Stars.
Wine, food, whatever your heart desires. But before we do that, we are continuing our series of UIL 11-man Texas high school football coaches. If you missed last week's episode, I guess we started this series out. Mm-hmm. We talked about some of the best current UIL 11-man Texas high school football coaches and basically put them into three categories. We talked about the coaches that had the most wins overall in their careers. We talked about the coaches that have the most playoff wins. And then, of course, we talked about the coaches that have acquired the most state titles in their career. So this week, we're just going to continue on with that series. So let's go ahead and start off with the coaches that have been coaching, I guess, the longest. So UIL 11-man Texas high school football coaches that have been coaching in Texas the absolute longest. And we're continuing with only the current coaches in this list. So starting off, of course, we have Randy Allen, 42 years. Now, actually, disclaimer, at the very top of this list, it was Phil Danaher with 48 years. But, of course, he is not current, so he is not included in this list. But at number one, we have Randy Allen. Number two, Jerry Bomar of Grosbeck.
The GOATs.
The GOAT. Number three, Denny Faith, 36 years at Albany. And that's just at Albany, which is crazy. 36 total years. Finally, at one school.
Finally getting that illustrious state championship this year. That was still one of the coolest moments of the entire state championship, was watching Coach Faith after 36 years get that. Yeah,
that was really cool to be down on the sidelines and kind of being in the action with all the kids and stuff, celebrating with him. That was really cool to see. At number four, Finis Vanover, there in Livingston. Been in the game for 36 years. At number 5, Reginald Samples, needs no introduction there. Duncanville, he finally got his first, just like Denny Faith, this past season, first state championship, 33 years. At number 6, we have Larry Hill of Smithson Valley, 32 years, and that is all at Smithson Valley. So he hasn't gone anywhere else. He has coached at Smithson Valley for 32 years, which is insane. At number 7, Eddie Gill of Callisburg, 31 years. And then rounding out at number 8, we have Mark Kirchhoff with 30 years, and he is currently at Falls City. So really the only two on this list that have been there been at the same school their entire career are Denny Faith and Larry Hill.
Right.
Which is really stinking impressive if you think about it. I mean, seeing 36 years, 30 at one school, and then being as successful as they are. I mean, that's a crazy stat.
Well, and I mean, I think that was the biggest thing about Denny Faith finally winning that championship is it's one thing to be a really good coach and a good enough coach to where a school district does not get rid of you.
Right.
Because that means that you're having consistency year in and year out for them not to just throw in the talent and hire a new talent. But then to be patient enough to stick somewhere for 36 years and fundamentally coach. Like, I bet you most of the parents of the athletes that he was coaching this year, he probably coached them too.
Oh, exactly.
And so it's like to stick with it until you can finally get that championship is just unbelievable. But those numbers are all completed years. So all of these guys as of now are planning to return next year, so they'll be adding another year to this. But these are completed years of UIL 11-man Texas high school football coaches.
As of 2022. So pretty stinking cool to see them all stacked up like that. So now we're going to transition. We are moving away from just talking about current UIL 11-man Texas high school football coaches, and now we're really talking about the best of the best. So first off, we're going to take a look at the coaches that reached that 100-win milestone the quickest, and we're doing this in years. So starting off at number 1, Gary Joseph, 8 years. And I wrote down here the exact game that got them to that amount. So it was a 55-3 win over Strake Jesuit Houston for those Katy Tigers. That's kind of cool. And then, of course, you see the little asterisk there by Gary Joseph, meaning that he is, of course, still active. Moving at number 2, Kevin Hoffman. Took him 8 years to get to that 100-win milestone. And that 54-0 win over Dawson this year, actually in 2022, is when he hit that a 100-win milestone. Number 3 is Hank Carter, of course, still active there at Lake Travis. Took him 8 years. And a 49-14 win over San Antonio Madison is what got him there.
Yeah, all of those years of state championship will get you adding up 16 wins pretty quickly.
Yes, very quickly. Yeah, most of these, I mean, there's only mostly 8 years and then a couple 9 years, but I mean they're so closely stacked together. It's so close. And never mind, we'll just get moving on to it. At number 4, Butch Ford of Salina. Took him 8 years. 35-14 win over Van Alstyne back in 2009 is when he reached that 100-win milestone. And number 5, the recently promoted Rice. What is his title at Rice?
He's the tight end or linebackers coach.
Yeah, defensive analyst linebackers coach. Yes, there at Rice. The former North Shore head coach John Kay took him 8 years to reach 100 wins, and that 44-20 win over Umbala-Tascasita back in 2021 is when he acquired 100 wins.
I was there for that game.
Were you really back in 2021?
Sideline reporting? I just realized that. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was.
That's neat. At number 6, we've got Chris Ketting. Did I say that right? Chris Ketting of Canadian, recently retired as of this week, actually. Took him just 9 years, and a 35-6 win over West Texas back in 2018 is what got him there. At number 7, D.W. Rutledge. Took him 9 years at Converse Judson to reach 100 wins. 21-14 win over San Antonio Marshall is what got him here. And I actually just realized this. So I went to a Judson game this past season. I can't even remember right now who they played, but it was a home game. And I didn't realize that the stadium was actually named after the famous D.W. Rutledge. Yeah, so that's really stinking cool.
He's definitely regarded as one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then at number 8, Brady Carney. He is still active there at Munster High School. Took him 9 years back in 2018. The 37-6 win over Valley View is what got him to that 100-win milestone.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Like, to put it into perspective, too, if you didn't do the math, not you, but the folks back home.
I did the math.
I know you did the math.
I'm joking.
I know you did the math. But obviously, the most amount of games that you can win in a season is 16. And so if you're going to times that by 8 years, you'd be at the peak number of games you could hit if you went undefeated for 8 years,
right,
is 128.
Right.
So, I mean, these guys that did it in 8 years, they're playing with 28 extra games that they possibly could have won. That's insane. Like, the consistency that takes for 8 years, like 8 years is like a third of your life.
Right. Exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah, it really is insane. I mean, to have that kind of record, it's crazy. And just to preface this once again, this is only UIL 11-man football. So this does not include 6-man, and this does not include private school. So again, we're only talking about UIL 11-man Texas high school football head coaches. Moving on to 200 wins, the coaches that reached to the 200-win milestone the fastest. And again, there at the top is Gary Joseph of Katy. At number 2, this should come as no surprise, we've got Scott Surratt, still obviously active at Carthage. Took him 16 years. And actually, he reached that 200-win milestone this year in 2022 with a 42-7 win over Pittsburgh. So that's pretty stinking cool. At number 3, Steve Lineweaver there at Euless Trinity. Took him 18 years to reach 200 wins. Back in 2010, it was a 50-3 win over North Richland Hills. And I found this out while doing this. His son is actually now the head coach at Euless Trinity. So his son has taken over at the helm there. Number 4, Todd Rogers of Argyle, of course still active. Took him 18 years. And he reached that milestone back in 2020 with a 45-7 win over Anna. Number 5, no introduction needed, John King of the Longview Lobos. Took him 19 years, and he reached this milestone actually this year in 2022 with a 48-11 win over Marshall. I actually remember that game. I don't know why, but I remember seeing the result of that game, and I think that was because it was
Coach
such a big
200,
milestone, right, for Coach King over there. At number 6, Brent West. Took him 19 years. He finished at Cisco. Took him 19 years back in 2019 with a 34-7 win over Anson. Number 7, Jason Herring of Refugio.
Yep.
I literally cannot. I just have to always stop and say Refugio because
instead of Refugio.
No, it's just I can't say it. It's just something in my mind where I'm like Refugio, like Refugio. I know how it's supposed to be pronounced. I just can't
it's like
ever
me.
say it.
I can't say that. Rory. Like
Rory,
the name
yes,
Rory,
yes.
Obviously, I sound like a dying dog when I say it.
Yeah.
So I get it. Something about the way that the letters are put together does not compute.
Like I always see you say it, and I'm like, dang, I'm jealous of her. She can say it. But anyway, it took Coach Herring over there at Refugio 19 years to reach the 200-win milestone. And that happened back in 2016 with a 69-20 win over Junction. And then lastly, up on this list, the newly retired Coach Tim Buchanan of Aledo. Took him 19 years. And that happened back in 2011 with a 62-28 win over Corsicana. So that was the list of coaches who reached 200 wins the fastest.
It's crazy that Gary Joseph is the only coach that has been on both lists so far. Like, if you want to really start talking about, and he's still a whole year ahead of everybody else when it comes to 200. Like, you want to talk about some people having, like, really, really a good stretch of teams. Like we mentioned the Lake Travis thing earlier with Hank Carter. Like they had 5 unbelievable years. So that really helps when it's like, okay, you're just starting out, you're doing that. It's amazing that he can do that. But then it was like, you want to really start talking about longevity here.
Exactly.
That Gary Joseph is the longevity factor.
Right, and extremely impressive. And then, yeah, like you said, like in this list, we have included coaches that have already retired. Like he's still going, and he's at the top of this list, which is which is even crazier to think about. So, all right, let's move on to 300 wins. The coaches that have reached that 300 win milestone the quickest. And at the very top, we've got Randy Allen of Highland Park. Took him 31 years, and he reached this milestone not even like recently, back in 2011 with a 41-27 win over Richardson Pierce. That's really impressive. Mm-hmm. That happened that long ago. Yeah. So, and he's still climbing. He's still there at Highland Park. Number 2, we've got no introduction. Phil Danaher. Took him 32 years at Corpus Christi Cal-Allen to reach that milestone. It happened back in 2005 with a 35-14 win over Waco. Number 3, Reginald Samples. It took him 32 years, and he reached this milestone back in 2021 with a 42-21 win over DeSoto. Were you at that game?
Yes, I was.
Didn't you interview him?
Yeah, I had the
opportunity
to interview Coach afterwards, and it was a lot of fun.
I remember that because that was a fantastic interview, by the way. Like it was really great. I actually went back to watch it for this, and then very impressive.
He goes, "You try and make me cry."
Exactly.
I was like, "Yes, I am, Coach."
Exactly.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. At number 4, we got G.A. Moore of Salina. It took him 32 years. He reached that milestone back in 1995 with a 23-22 win over West Texas. Number 5, Denny Faith of Albany. It took him 33 years to reach that 300-win milestone. Number 6, we've got Tom Nolan. He once coached at Houston Lamar. It took him 33 years. Hit that milestone back in 2017 when his team got the victory over Alif Alif. I always get that wrong. I know there's a bunch of the schools, and I always get that wrong. 35-14 win. At number 7, we've got Charlie Johnston of Childress. It took him 33 years, and he hit this milestone back in 1999 with a 21-14 win over Midland Greenwood. And then rounding it all out at number 8, we've got Curtis Barbie. That's how you pronounce it?
I think so.
Of Newton. Took him 34 years back in 2008 when he reached the milestone with a shutout win, 49-0 win over Buffalo. So now, that was the quickest to reach 300 wins. Now we've got the smallest category in the coaches that have reached 400 career wins. And there's only 3 of them because of how prestigious this really is. At number 1, Randy Allen. It took him 39 years to reach 400 wins. And just saying that, 39 years.
I was lucky enough to get to do that interview as well.
That's right.
I did Coach Samples after 300, and then I did Coach Allen after 400. That was another really unbelievable moment. I actually got to walk down onto the field, and his lovely wife was standing there, and I was waiting for him to get done kind of embracing his players and give him a time to soak it all in. And I talked to Miss Allen, and I said, "Congratulations, you should be very proud." And she was, it was a really, really cool moment. She stopped and gave me a big old hug, and she didn't know exactly who I was. You know, she had seen me over the years, but it wasn't a close personal relationship. And she was so proud of him, and so that was a really cool moment.
Right. And I feel like too in that moment, 400 wins is a lot, but I don't think there's a lot of people that know how hard that really is because I mean. Looking at this list, there's only 3 coaches that have ever done it in history. So it's like, that's a really big accomplishment.
Well, and for so long, it was Coach Danaher and Coach Allen, chasing G.A. Moore. Like he's a little bit of an older guy than different time period. And so it had always been, okay, hey, look, like we're chasing that. You're chasing those big ones. And then they both did it. But I know it was just extra special considering Randy Allen, being in the company of 2 of the greatest high school football coaches of all time, did it quicker than they did.
Right. It's so stinking impressive to reach that milestone, and I'm sure we'll have more coaches to do it here soon. But
it's impressive
as of
to
right
be a
now,
part of education for 39 years.
I know. I mean,
Like,
it's a
he's
tough
going into his
business.
43rd, but to be, I mean, think about loving on kids like that and being out at practice every single day for 43 years.
Right.
That's crazy.
That's seriously insane.
People don't work that long.
No.
Normally, people aren't bankers for
No.
that long, much less out there coaching high school kids.
No. And what I love about, last thing about Randy Allen, but what I love about him as a person too is that he still has that old coach style to him, with the fedora,
with his hat.
It's so stinking cool. I mean, he's never really changed in that sense, and I think that's really cool to kind of take a timeline back into history of football. But he reached that milestone back in 2019 with a 42-35 win over Lancaster in overtime. Then Phil Danaher took him 40 years to reach 400 wins back in 2013 with a 42-0 win over Alice. And then G.A. Moore is the last coach on this list. Took him 41 years to reach that 400 win milestone back in 2004 with a 22-13 win over Dallas St. Mark's. So
I
really
forgot that Highland Park game went into overtime. That because I was like, I'm gonna literally have to go cover Highland Park again next week if they don't win because I was working for Bally and they wanted that interview. I was like, it's either going to be me or someone else,
Right. But seriously, what an impressive list of coaches. I mean, all the way to 100 wins, too. I mean, seriously, so impressive, each and every one of those coaches. I'm just so proud that we get to be a part of Texas high school football and just learn every day about the history of it, because it truly is one of the most distinctive and incredible sports, I think, in the country.
Oh yeah, well, and the fact too that we are able to just talk ball with those guys, and they've always. It's so funny because those coaches, all the coaches that we just talked about, are the exact type of coaches that they want to take time to talk to us, and they always say thank you so much for covering our kids, and I think that goes back into how in the world are you doing that job for 42 years,
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, because they love the kids. That's why when we ask them, hey, can you fill out this questionnaire? They fill out the questionnaire. When you ask them, hey, can I grab an interview? They're like, absolutely, because it's spotlighting my kids.
Exactly. Which brings up a good point. If you haven't turned your questionnaire in, do it.
Yeah, we're
working on a magazine right now. Yeah, we are in a very low number left, so please turn that in if you have not.
Especially because I know that y'all have been hearing from Tepper and Step a lot to do it, but eventually, once they run out of juice, then it is left to Mallory and I, because we're the muscle of this organization here. So if you don't want us beating down your door and Mallory threatening you, you better turn in your questionnaire.
Do it. Well, there you go. There's some Texas high school football history and trivia for you. We'll continue this series, I guess, probably through the next couple weeks, because, I mean, we've got so much stuff. We can switch it into players and pretty much do whatever we want with this. So,
and I think that was the biggest thing from last week. We wanted to show just very basic, here's the UIL 11-man coaches that are currently active that have, here's just kind of the numbers. Today, I think we talked a lot, obviously Scott Surratt was the main topic of conversation last week with the playoff wins that he's had, 71-7 in 16 years, and 9 of them are state championships. If you want to start GOAT talk of who is the GOAT, he's making a path for himself. But I also think that a big portion of this is looking at people like Gary Joseph, who reached 100 first, who reached 200 first, who are still going.
Guys like Randy Allen, and then even the GOATs like Phil Danaher. I mean, there's a different topic of conversation.
G.A. Moore.
Exactly.
Is there a new wave? As I feel like G.A. Moore, Gordon Wood, all of that is kind of like the old school. Here was the fundamental key pieces of what made Texas high school football. I feel like we're finally starting to enter that era of, okay, here are the next guys we need to be talking about. Like Randy Allen and Phil Danaher are kind of in the same circle. And then I think that people like Scott Surratt, and if you want to include Gary Joseph in either one of those.
Tim Buchanan,
exactly.
Exactly.
It's funny to watch the kind of progression of little pockets that you can see. And some people put a lot more, stock into what the playoffs numbers were rather than, okay, yeah, they reached 300 wins or 100 wins the quickest, but how long is their longevity there? So the GOAT conversation will always be a thing. I think if you want to talk about a new school GOAT, I think that it's Scott Surratt.
Yeah.
I don't have any reason to not think that.
I completely agree with you.
I think if you want to talk about Phil Danaher, Gary Joseph, or Randy Allen being in that one pocket, and then obviously the fundamental ones, I think you have to evolve and look at the best of all time for different eras.
Yeah, because you can't just put those two, I guess, in the same pocket just because of how, just the length between the two, age groups and stuff like that. But yeah, I really do think that it's a good thing to split up between, like you said, the new wave and then I guess the old school kind of coaching wave.
Right.
Because things have developed, things have evolved.
Yes.
In the style of coaching, the way of coaching, like it's just right that we do split those up into two separate categories.
Right.
Like that,
and
like how we did.
It's like Scott Surratt has 9 state championships. He's never lost in a state championship. I also don't think that Scott Surratt is going to coach for 43 years.
Right.
Like, I think that he will have one of the absolute most decorated, careers, but I don't think that he's going to be Randy Allen and be coaching when he is, I don't know how old Coach Allen is, but approaching the upper part of the scale there.
Exactly. I agree. Well, Pickle, before we get to Mailbag Mania, I like that.
Thank you.
It's very good.
I try.
Let's hear a word from our good friends at VCR Now.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
All right, AP. Now that we have paid the bills, it's time for Mailbag Mania here on Women Talking Football.
Mailbag
what do we
Mania.
have? What's our first question?
Oh, good idea. Hang on. Let me pull that up.
We had a lot of questions. Thank you guys for sending them in. A lot of really good variety, too.
Yeah. All right. We'll go rapid fire here. Is Texas or TCU more likely to win the Big 12 next season? In their final year of the Big 12 for Texas, at least.
Yeah. Do you have an answer? Or do you want to go first?
Well, I mean, we literally just did a segment on TFT that was looking at ESPN's FPI, I think, things. And they have Texas being in the college football playoffs. So that's huge.
Yes.
I think that TCU is going to be missing some really key pieces. I think that we'll have a better idea of that heading into maybe the second or third game of just seeing how other people step up. But that being said, I think Texas should be the favorite. There's no reason to.
No.
Do I want to say that Texas is going to make it to the college football playoffs yet? Absolutely not.
They've got
a lot to prove before then. But if you look at solely just the roster, the amount of depth and the level of skill guys that they have, there's no reason they shouldn't win the Big 12 championship. Like, if they don't win the Big 12 championship, something went wrong in my mind.
I agree. I 100% completely agree with you here. And I think that if they're in the hunt for a conference championship, this is the year to do it. Because I hate to say it, but next year when they're hopping up to the SEC, that's a whole other ball game.
Yeah.
Because it is a dogfight week in and week out. When you've got when you're consistently playing teams like Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. I mean, that's just a different Alabama. That's just a
A&M.
different Texas A&M right down the road. I mean, that's just a different level of college football. And I think Texas is in a better position now in their final year of the Big 12 to win a conference title over TCU. Because I think Texas, Steve Sarkisian has already come out and said that Quinn Ewers is going to be the starter over Arch Manning. So they've got a veteran quarterback at the helm there. They've got a really veteran, experienced offensive line to back them up. I think
their wide receiving core is insane.
Their wide receiving core is insane. They're losing Bijan Robinson, but they're bringing in a core group of running backs from the transfer portal. I really think that Texas is in a better position to claim a Big 12 title in their final year. And I really think that they are in the hunt for it because they know this is their final year. They know things are about to get a lot tougher. Maybe not a lot tougher, but just a different there's going to be a different feel because they're not used to playing they're not used to playing these SEC teams, you know what I mean? SEC talent is crazy like we all know. So I think that they got a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove, and I think also in the back of their heads, they're like, man, we are going to the SEC. We have something that we need to prove that we're going to be okay stepping up into an SEC role.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about that from a lot of different perspectives of like from everybody that's moving. I mean, it should have been big for Houston to make a lot of noise before they went up to the Big 12 for Conference USA moving into the American. Like,
right.
We SMU is actually the other team in Texas that they had favored to win their conference. They think that SMU will win the American. They had UTSA all the way down at like 4th or 5th on that list moving in the American, and I was like, they put Tulane, which played in a New Year's Six Bowl. I think they're bringing some people back. Okay,
am I crazy or did they beat USC? They beat USC, right? Tulane did?
Yes.
They beat USC.
Yeah, I think so. And then they had Memphis ahead of UTSA, and I was like, there's no way. But UTSA is coming in as the 2-time defending
that's
Conference USA championship. Like, they've got a chip on their shoulder saying, okay, we're going to go into it. That's what Texas needs moving into the SEC is the point of all of that. You want that and saying, hey, we're champs walking into this league, and we're going to try to be champs again.
Actually, yes, I agree with you there. And I just think that TCU is losing too much in key positions, and they're bringing in a lot of guys from the transfer portal, which I think is really good. But also, I mean, those guys are they're gonna take time they need to acclimate, to the schemes and what coaches build over there.
Yeah, so it's funny. I didn't realize this was one of the questions, but one of the questions was who wins the American Athletic Conference this year and why. And so anyway, a lot of people think that SMU. I think that that's a very reasonable.
Have you, just on that same point, have you seen all of the transfers that they're bringing in? I think 85% of them are Power 5 schools, which I don't know how much weight you put into that. Nowadays,
think about when they were really good. I mean, think about the years when, and I know this was under a different coach, but the reason that Sonny Dykes was so good at SMU was because he found a way to really utilize the transfer portal and say, hey, come back and play in the DFW. We're the team of Dallas. We're all that. That's how we got Shane Buechele. That's how they ended up going on and almost winning the American Conference. Like, Rhett Lashley has followed that in a very positive way to a T, and I think that it's going to pay dividends this year.
It's working. It definitely is. Lashley is really followed in the footsteps of Sonny Dykes there. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see how many transfers. I went to the TCU and SMU game with Mike Craven, our college football insider, and we counted like how many transfers they had on their roster, and like almost half of them were, which is kind of cool. Yeah. I mean, and like also this year, there's a ton of them coming from Miami, which obviously Lashley's using his Miami pool.
As you should,
right. But they're definitely going to be good. I think they're going to be a definite top contender of the American.
I do too. I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say who I think is going to win the American. I hate to stray away from UTSA.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate to stray away from them. Dude, they have so much coming back. They've got an extreme veteran quarterback in Frank Harris. He is the guy. They're bringing back a core wide receiver group. Their offensive line is healthy. They're all veteran. Their defense is healthy. Most of them are coming back. It's hard to pick against a UTSA squad that is as veteran and as experienced. And not to mention, you have one of the best G5 coaches in the entire country with Jeff Traylor at the helm.
Well, and that's the other thing is we put so much stock into being a veteran team, but if you're a bad veteran team, yes, that bumps you up a little bit because you have a year's experience under your belt. They're a 2-time championship winning veteran squad. Jeff Traylor convinced the best quarterback that UTSA has ever seen to come back for another year. We were at the conference championship game down in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome. He got the chant, "One more year," started. Jeff Traylor, the head coach, started that chant for his quarterback and convinced donors to do NIL, I mean, that's it. And I just, it would be awesome to see SMU and UTSA go ahead, head to head for it.
I agree.
I think that those two have to be I would need to look at a deeper dive into Tulane's roster and what all they have coming back, because I can't, obviously I was at the Cotton Bowl when they won their New Year's Six Bowl this year, so it's that's great.
I know that they've got that quarterback coming back. I can't remember
really
his
good.
name, but they do. I know for a fact that they do have that quarterback coming back. Well, and it's not to mention, I mean, they've been playing against American talent for years. They know these teams really, really well. And UTSA, teams like UTSA and North Texas, they just don't, So I don't know how much stock that you put into that if you're used to your competition or whatnot. But
I think those are by far the top three teams.
Yes, UTSA, Tulane, and I'd argue SMU in there as well.
Yeah.
I think those are definitely the three front runners to win the American next year.
What they're thinking about Memphis. What do they know about Memphis that we don't know?
I don't either.
But
is Seth Hennigan's still the quarterback over there, isn't he?
Yeah, and he started to heat up pretty well
He started as a
year.
freshman, yeah, he's a really good quarterback over there.
I just don't think they have the supporting cast. Now, their basketball team's fantastic.
Yeah.
But, I just don't... I don't know
much
football.
Right. And I truly I just don't know much about the bottom tier of the American either, just because we've never really had to pay close attention to them because we've been so focused on Conference USA. We've had so many teams in Conference USA. Rice is going over there now too to the American. I mean, it's just going to look like a completely different conference than before, and I just don't think we really. How do you pick? I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. So, who knows? That's our biggest take on what the American's going to look like next year. But what's next?
Who would you take number one in the draft this year?
There's a couple of guys I've got in mind. I'll go first, though.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest. I have no idea and have not had 2 seconds to pay attention to anything about the draft. So I'm out on this one. I don't know.
So I know that Carolina has the first pick because the Chicago Bears did have the first pick, but Carolina traded up to get that first pick because you know what they need? That team needs a quarterback. Desperately. I found this stat. So they finished 31st and 30th in total QBR in the past 2 seasons. That's horrible. So they need a quarterback bad.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just looking at the pool of quarterbacks that are available this year, I think you got to go with Bryce Young at number 1. He's clearly the best quarterback in this group of, I don't know, what do you call them? Draftees or what do you call? I mean, this group. Yeah, like this group of them. I think Bryce Young. I think you could argue C.J. Stroud too from Ohio State. I think he's a really good quarterback, but I do think that Bryce Young is ultimately going to be probably the first quarterback drafted.
I agree.
So it's not. I don't think it's going to be anything but a quarterback. I think Carolina. I think they traded up to the number 1 spot for a very specific reason. Yeah. I also think that.
You're not going to go number 1 and get. I mean, unless it's a running back situation. But it's kind of how much stock do you put into quarterback versus running back. At this point, you have to try and get a quarterback rather than a running back. Shelf life is just not long.
It's not feasible
anymore.
In the NFL anymore.
And that's another thing. Like there are so many running back like Zeke. Like that. Yeah, they've got some mileage on him, but go get your number 1 quarterback, and then you can fill in the supporting cast of running backs that just haven't panned out other places.
Right. I mean, Zeke is a perfect example of that. I mean, he was fantastic in his couple of first rookie years, and then you just start to see the wear and tear that the running back position in the NFL eventually takes.
Yeah, because you're playing high school, then you're playing college.
Exactly.
I mean, he was a beast at Ohio State.
Right, and the amount of contact that you have as a running back, it's an insane amount. So I think Bryce Young is clearly the number 1 answer here. 2021 Heisman candidate. He's a very impressive signal caller that I think will fit really, really well into their offensive scheme there at Carolina. So that's my pick.
All right.
What's next?
What is your favorite jersey of all time?
I have one.
Okay.
My favorite jersey is my Jaren Jackson Jr. jersey of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay, so jersey that you own.
Oh, are we doing? I interpreted that as the jersey that I own.
Oh, okay. Okay, we can do that. Do you have a favorite like designed jersey at any point in time?
What do you mean by that?
So when I think of like some of my favorite jerseys of all time, like I don't own a Spurs Fiesta jersey, but like when they brought those out, I loved them. But like,
I see what you mean there.
Like,
okay,
you know, a lot of teams will do like their city edition jerseys and stuff. Like for me, it's always the old school Miami Vice Heat jerseys. Like I love those. Absolutely love those. I can't remember which year when it came out, but it was a handful of years ago that they came out with one of their Miami Vice ones that was just like,
is that mwah. So that's the that's like the bright pink and like the turquoise blue, right?
Let me see.
I mean, those, I honestly think that those might be the best of all time. So who is it? The Heat?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ooh yeah. So
like, I love this.
I don't know
one.
if you
Let me
could
see if I can
I don't know
turn
if
it
you
around
can
without
see.
showing too much.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
A little
exactly
bit.
it.
So that's
yeah.
That is
like,
beautiful. I think I kind of agree with you on that one. What's your favorite jersey that you own? Just going off of that last.
Hang on. This is the one that I was talking about. I love
That's
that
beautiful.
One. I absolutely, mainly because I did like the ones that they did that were like kind of faded into it. Like they had the ones that were like half blue, half pink faded. And I like those,
yeah.
but that's
a
little, it's a little much. I like those because it's like, it's very clear what you're doing. It's very clear what you're going for and it's not too much. So I really, really like those. My favorite jersey that I own, when I was working at the athletic department, they gave me a Mean Green jersey to MC in, and they embroidered pickle on the back of it, and it was a number 75 like Mean Joe Green. So out of jerseys that I own, that's probably it.
There's no comparison there.
And it was like specifically given to me, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
Like
that's pretty stinking cool. Yeah. I think mine's got to be my Jaren Jackson Jr. jersey.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say,
cool.
if like talking about other jerseys that we like, this doesn't have anything. I love when blue blood college football programs don't switch their jerseys. Like the University of Texas does a really good job of that. They have
Alabama does too.
Alabama does. Like they have their two colors, like the white or the red or the burnt orange or whatever it is, and it's like, those are your jerseys. Those are what you're sticking with. It's as cool as it would be to go to Oregon and get a new jersey every single time. It's just like sometimes it's like, what are you doing?
It's too much.
Or there's certain ones, like I know that one that caused a lot of controversy was TCU's black ones with the purple or the red all around it. It's supposed to be the Horned Frog thing, but there's just a lot of times with jerseys like that, or city edition jerseys. Like the Rangers just released their city editions, and people had a lot of hot takes on those. So there are just times where I feel like it's too much, and that's why I like that Miami one, because you knew exactly what they were going for, and it was just enough. Like I'm very fundamentalist, I guess, when it comes to jerseys.
Right.
But yeah, the schools that they stick with what their jersey is.
Agreed.
I love it.
I've always loved Texas's all white jerseys with just like the burnt orange number on it. I think that looks so classy. And like Michigan State does a really good job of that too. I love our all green jerseys with the white lettering.
Yeah.
I just think that looks so slick. And then we've got white pants with it. Oh, that's my favorite uniform that
After I just get done talking about how much I don't like when teams like spice it up, I will say when North Texas came out with some of them had like chrome on them with the diving eagle, but the one that I liked the best was the matte black helmet, and it had a green diving eagle on the side, and then they would wear black and black, like it was full black. They would always do it around like the Halloween game was the big time that Via, the equipment manager guy, would like put those out. But that all black look on North Texas with that matte black helmet, I always wanted to just try and steal one of those when I was walking by, because like you're walking in the bowels of the stadium and you see one, and I was like, can I get out of here
easy for me to
with
just
a matte black helmet?
Wouldn't it
those
be a shame?
Rule.
Wouldn't it be a shame if I just
whoosh.
took it? Yeah, those are sick.
Via's gonna run across this and be like, "Pickle, I never trusted you."
There's a reason I never trusted you. All right, what's next?
All right, two more here.
Yeah,
and then we'll wrap it up. Which classification do you think, top to bottom, has the most parity?
I'll let you answer this one, because you had we talked about this one beforehand, and you had a really good explanation as to why you picked this classification.
Yeah, I genuinely think you could talk me into 4A, but I want to say 5A. And my reasoning behind it is that's a level to where a lot of 5A schools are pretty much in the same type of area, whether that be like economically speaking or kind of they're not right in the big parts of the city, but they're a little bit outside. But the biggest reason that I think that 5A probably would be the best answer is because when you start getting into those lower classifications, the gaps make such a big difference. And like I always think back to when I was in high school, we were just over the cutoff line at Llano to be into 3A, like just over, like 3 or 4 people. Liberty Hill, that is very, very close down to Austin, was just underneath the cutout. We would have been going down, they would have been going up. So when we had about 500 kids, they had about 1,000 kids. They're living in the big old city, like that's hard to compete with. So I think that when you start talking about the lower classifications, you just don't have the numbers. Like you kind of, here are your athletes and this is what you have to work with.
Right.
I feel like when you get into that 5A level, most of the time kids are choosing what sports they want to do. Like, so you have your football guys, and some of the time your football guys are not playing basketball and they're not playing baseball. When you're in a small town, you're playing every single sport.
That's
so
a
you
really
never
good point
get
that I
a
didn't think
chance-
about. Yeah.
You never get a chance to focus on one sport. You're a one-horse town, so you're working with what you got. I think if I had to choose the one that's like, I feel like the most even playing field, 5A would probably be it.
I think so too. And
Just my personal opinion.
I agree. And one of the points that I brought up too is when you look at these massive cities like Arlington ISD, or you can look at Denton ISD when they have, I guess Denton ISD is probably not the greatest because they've got 5 and 6A, but Arlington ISD, right, where they've got 6 or 7 massive 6A schools. You're pulling from the same kids in that city. So there is, for the most part, there's going to be a lot of parity there. It's not like in the small towns where, this city just happens to be really, there's a ton of athletes there, and the next city isn't, so I agree with you that I think the higher the classification, probably the more parity there is.
Yeah, well, I mean, and like here, like Mart feels like a perfect example because they're all like, it's all the same family. Like every single really good prospect that they've put out have all been part of that same like family bloodline. They've just lived there forever. So it's like, yeah, you get one really good family bloodline going, and then it's like, hey, we've always had, oh, here's this brother and here's this brother and here's this brother. And so it's like, yeah, but you don't, I feel like 5A is probably my answer.
Well, then, yeah. And what if you get a kid from, I don't know, let's say Albany or something, and he's a really good football player. Like he's a difference maker. But he wants to play basketball. Yep. He wants to quit football mid-season and play basketball from the start of their season. Like you just don't have that. I feel like in the 6A, 5A. Division classifications, because you're not pulling from that same group of kids.
Yeah, in small schools, it's either you just have an unbelievable class of athletes that just carry on success, or your football team's really good, but your basketball team's awful.
Exactly.
Or your basketball team is awful and your football team's really good. Most of the time, it's just you can tell that both sports are usually on at one time because it's just you have a naturally athletic class going through it.
Yeah, agreed there.
So.
Do we have an ender?
Last one. Best state parks in Texas and best national park trips y'all have ever had.
Love it. Disclaimer, I have not been to a Texas state park, which is ridiculous, I know.
How?
I don't know. I just never have. I've been to a lot of the nationally recognized state parks. I've got it pulled up here. So I've been to Yosemite. I feel like that's a very common one.
I've been to Yosemite.
Yosemite and Yellowstone. I've not been to Yellowstone, but those are the two kind of well-known ones. I've been to the Grand Canyon National Park. That's got to be up there. I mean, I think it's either between the Hawaii volcano chain national park or probably the Grand Canyon National Park, because I feel like between volcanoes and massive Grand Canyons, I feel like they're just two totally different, what do you call them, landmarks? Or just earth-created things that are so different and you just never see. Like if you're talking about, I don't know, a mountain. I don't think, like trees and a mountain. I feel like that's a very common.
You can see that a lot of different places.
You can see that a lot of different places. You're not going to see a volcano everywhere you go. You're not going to see a massive canyon everywhere you go. So I think between the Grand Canyon National Park and then the volcanoes in Hawaii, I think that's got to be two of the coolest national parks that I've been to.
Yeah, my favorite state park in Texas, now, disclaimer there, I have not been to Big Bend or Palo Duro. So those are two big ones, like big holes that I'm missing on my Texas state park. I've been to a bunch of Texas state parks. I think my favorite one is I love Garner State Park down in Concan. Go float the Frio and then go out to Garner, and they've got a dance hall and obviously all the rest of the stuff that the campgrounds have to offer.
Yeah.
But I would say Garner State Park is probably my favorite one that I've been to here. Enchanted Rock is really cool. I grew up right there, so I've done that a million times. But Enchanted Rock, if you haven't done it, that's one of the only ones in Texas other than Big Bend and Palo Duro that are like more singular things, just like you were talking about with the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Rather than just a state park with hiking trails.
Yes.
National parks.
We got to get out to Big Bend.
We do. I've been to Yosemite, like you said. Let's see. I've been to the Hawaii one, was unbelievable. I've lucky enough to do that one as well, so that was really, really fun. The Sequoia National Park in California is awesome. Sequoia trees are so dope. But the one in California, because we did Yosemite, the Redwoods, the Sequoias, all in the same trip. But the other one we did on that trip was Kings Canyon National Park.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
Unbelievable. It's a lot of driving and stuff, but there is a lodge at the very bottom of the canyon. So you drive up the mountain and then have to drive back down into the canyon. There's a lodge at the bottom of the canyon, and we stayed one night in the little lodge down there.
No kidding.
It ruled. Like the water coming off the mountain and into the canyon was like rushing by on the drive and stuff. There's like a lot of whitewater rafting out there. But Kings Canyon is a hidden gem out there in California. That's probably been one of my favorite ones that I've been to. I've done Olympia up in Seattle too. Yeah. So it was cool.
Yeah, I've been to White Sands too in New Mexico. That's just different.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's
singular
white
thing.
Exactly. Yeah, you can actually go down. You can hike down into the Grand Canyon, which I want to do someday. Yeah. Like I don't know how that'd probably take me years unless I just jump. But
well, let's not do that.
Incorrect. But you can actually hike down, or I think you can actually take like a helicopter down there, which is kind of cool. But
that is cool. That seems quicker.
That does seem a lot quicker. Safer. I think I would probably prefer that method.
Oh God, okay.
Because hiking is just.
I guess we'll end it with this one because the people are demanding it. What is better, Apple Music or Spotify?
There ain't no
Spotify,
question.
And now we're done. Here we go. I'll put it up. Thanks for watching.
You can catch this on Spotify. You can listen to former episodes, whatever you like. Rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Music.
On Spotify.
Do you have any final words? Because I don't even want to give them to you.
Spotify started a new thing right now that's really, really cool. That you it makes you have the option to shuffle whatever playlist or shuffle suggestions, and so it's like a radio type thing.
Pretty sure Apple Music has that too.
No, they do not.
But anyways. Apple Music,
Spotify,
all the way. There is no debate there. Thank you to everyone who participated in Mailbag Mania. We're going to try to do this probably once a month because I just think it's really fun and it's just different.
Y'all have good questions.
Yeah, you guys have really good questions, so we're excited to keep on doing Mailbag Mania. With that being said, thanks for watching. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Mallory Hartley. Catch us next Thursday. It'll be a pre-recorded episode, but we'll still be here at 2 p.m.